All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here live, okay, for this podcast today on the 29th of June. Hey, guys, this is the week. Okay, this is officially not Wednesday, starts the second half of the year. So hopefully you're on pace for what you're doing. If not, perfect time to, right the ship, as they say. Well, we are very fortunate today to have from the Scottsdale office, okay, Mr. Sean Cawley. Sean, welcome to the show.
Rick Berube, how you doing? Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Or as I call you, Mr. Cawleywood.
Mr. Cawleywood. Well, that's my nickname. I got a few of them, but that's one of them that's been sticking with me for a little bit of time. What's funny is I am out of that Kierland Scottsdale office. We were part of the Camelback office for many years, and I would go up to that Kierland office. But that Kierland office that we have now is just absolutely outstanding with the big flag in front. But
oh my God,
yeah, it's a good office. It's the biggest flag, I think they said, west of the Mississippi.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and you know what? The story is because the apartments that are in front of you now. Well, when I say in front of you, I mean in between you and Scottsdale Road. So you couldn't see. They used to tell people, look for the big flag in the air. So when they put those big buildings in, people were having a harder time. So they just increased the height of the pole and made the flag even bigger.
That makes sense. That's the reason why. So you can see it all the way up and down Scottsdale Road, and it's impressive. It's like the landmark where you say, if you want to come and visit the office, you're welcome to come visit the office, and it's right there with the big flagpole in front. Can't miss it.
Yeah, and I think it's way cooler than that. What is that little spearhead at Frank Lloyd Wright or whatever?
They got the Frank Lloyd Wright spearhead there. That's a good point. That's right there on the corner of Frank Lloyd Wright and Scottsdale Road. But, it's a great town to live in. I got to tell you, when I first moved to Scottsdale full time, that was 16 years ago. And I was thinking about when I got into real estate, it's been 16 years. It's like 2010 is when I got licensed in both California and in Arizona to sell real estate full time. I just left Warner Brothers in Burbank, California, which is funny. I'm happen to be taking this call right now from Laguna Beach, California, where my sisters live. My brother lives down here in Newport Beach, and my mom and dad are also down this way. But, when I think about where this all started and how it all started, it came after leaving a career at Warner Brothers studio in Burbank and wanting to get into a business of my own, selling homes. And so when I left Warner Brothers, I decided I'm going to get a license in California and in Arizona to, sell homes. And I'm looking back to my first home sale. It was back in 2011. It took a little bit of patience to get there, but it was a home in Bartlett Estates, which is just a little bit west of the Biltmore in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking back and thinking to myself, wow, how amazing was that to sell a home on an acre for just under $900,000. That was my first home sale back in 2011, though. It got me thinking, when I get on a call like this, how did I even get into this to begin with, and how did it get rolling? And it took some patience, and that's what I would tell you. I thought it was going to be an instant success overnight, but it did take a little time.
It did take you a little time, but you were, one thing about you is you're coachable. You were in my coaching for years. You're coachable. You take direction. You implement it. You get outside your comfort zone. Even though, you spent a lot of time with Warner Brothers in Burbank. I mean, I know, and that's why you're nicknamed Cawleywood, which I love it, by the way. I would use that more on your videos, right? But you embraced it. Remember when you and I had that conversation years ago? I said, dude, you speak well. You look the part, definitely of the male realtor. So I would say, get on that social media and start doing. And you got on it, man. And you did a really good job. And your videos are really good. And I'm sure that's helped you in your career.
You're absolutely correct about this, Rick. And I'll tell you what, I did not use video initially. I don't know what it was, but there's something about it. It's kind of surprising. You think, well, you're coming from a background in film and television, and my first job ever was in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had a video production company. I basically shot wedding videos when I was in high school. That was in addition to working at Warren Buffett's basically his consumer electronics showroom at the Nebraska Furniture Mart. But the job I had was completely set up early on to shoot video and to do that. But, I just never thought about doing that in the way that a lot of agents do now. They use the social media and video posts to put them on the map. And you told me to do that. It was many years ago when we first started coaching together. You said, Sean, you got to start using that video and start posting it up on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll tell you, Rick, it was the best piece of advice that I think I ever received in my career in real estate, because I was not doing that. And it's just gotten to be a point where now I'm out and about somewhere and I will bump into somebody that I haven't seen maybe 15, 20, 30 years in some cases. They've seen me on Facebook and they're not from town. Maybe they're from Omaha, they're visiting Scottsdale. They're when I visit California to do a home sale, they say, "Gee, is that Sean Cawley? Is that you?" They've seen me on Instagram or Facebook, and they tie me right back into real estate because of those posts. So thank you for that, and it was a great move that has tremendously impacted my business in a positive ways.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, that's the key right there. Just keep being consistent with it. And when you're like, you walk with the camera, you're walking through the property, you're talking to people, those are really, really good. And I know that I watch them. You know me, I comment on yours when you do them. I watch them and I comment on them because they're good. And I think people enjoy that. Look, I know that we think, because really, let's face it, real estate, a day in the life of a realtor is a tremendous amount of common sense, but there's a lot of little intricacies that people don't understand or know about. And I think when you walk them through and show them what you're doing on a daily basis, it's really helpful for them. And I think people respect it and enjoy seeing it.
Well, I appreciate that. I enjoy doing them. I try to keep them short, just short and to the point, 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds at most, because I know people's attention spans are, they're limited these days. And I think that's why a lot of people, that's why they're on Instagram and Facebook, watching what's on there, and to use to sell homes and to sell real estate. That's been a no-brainer. Jimmy Burgess was in town about a week ago, and he was talking about video. And there's some study. He is great. He had some interesting study that was done about videos and how they should look, and a lot of it was to your point, movement, color, the way they sound. There's something about the movement in the videos, which I've always tried to show people what's in a house or what's going on in an area. And the movement, I think, has been critical. My brother, Brian, who's a filmmaker, went to USC Cinematic Arts. He told me that, years ago, this is so boring. You can't just do a static shot with a video. I said, what do you mean? He's like, you got to, move around and show people a house. And, my brother, Brian, believe it or not, he's now selling some real estate down here in Laguna Beach. But he told me that. That was a note from Brian many years ago. And so what I got was basically a selfie stick. And I was like, what the heck? I'm not going to use a selfie stick. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You're going to see me. I'm going to be like on, the Zillow Gone Wild or something with my Zillow stick floating around in the air. I just wasn't comfortable with it initially. And I've just gotten more comfortable with it over the course of time. And it, like to your point, it's just, you got to do it and just keep doing it.
Right.
So
no, it's great.
That's what I try to do.
It's great too. It's great too. And you do and you seem very natural and comfortable doing it too. So I would say just keep doing it, keep being consistent. But let's talk about, so last year, was last year your best year in real estate?
It was one of the better years. I mean, I think in the past 3 years in real estate have been the best years in my entire career in the 16 years I've been doing it. And I think that's why I think about the patience it's taken. It didn't happen in 5 years, 6 years. I mean, there's always good years. There were fine years. But I will tell you the past three have been probably the most successful years of my real estate business. And I think it compiles. It compiles, I've been fortunate that I've had great colleagues that I've worked with over the years. And, when I first started my business, it was with Russ Lyon Sotheby's. For 2 years, I worked at Russ Lyon Sotheby's in Scottsdale. And I worked with Sandra Baldwin's real estate group. They had a real estate store in Old Town Scottsdale. And I remember meeting people coming through town for spring training baseball games. And it just dawned on me that we sold a house. I've worked with this client for probably since the beginning of my career. He's bought and sold several homes with me over the years, but from San Francisco, came to town and met him down here at this real estate store 16 years ago, roughly. And you start to realize it's being in a place, showing up, being nose to nose, toes to toes with people, talking with them directly. and getting to know them. I didn't know this person from anywhere other than they came into the store, they saw the real estate sign and said, let's go look at some houses. We're thinking about buying a second home here from San Francisco because we like coming down here so much. But that's been a great client of mine. I just recently sold their place in McCormick Ranch, and just a great, fun client to have worked with over the years. And I've been fortunate to have repeat business. I mean, that's been a key part of it. So it's taken time. I guess the patience part comes back in my mind often because it took this amount of time to have the 3 best years of my career in the past 3. So it didn't happen overnight. Like 1 or 2 years later, it took some time for me to get this thing rolling.
Right, but you got it wrong. You stuck with it. You were diligent. You know, like I felt like last year, you were in the top 10 in your office for individual agents, which is incredible. This year, I'm looking at the production report. You're on the production report again. So I mean, all that it's gelling for you. You know, it's working. And like you said, and you know that's a great office too in Scottsdale. I mean, never mind just the office itself, but the people in there are incredible.
Oh.
You know, you guys got a great thing going there.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It was always nice to have the Camelback office was, there's so many great agents, and I've learned so much from these agents, and I could name names on this phone call. I'm on a mastermind group with some of these great agents from the Camelback office at one time. Now it's all converged into one, but I'm fortunate. The one thing I would say is the mastermind groups, I thought, what is a mastermind group? Why do you need a mastermind group? And, you know, I joined your mastermind group for coaching, you know, several years ago. I then joined another mastermind that I was invited to join, and the feedback and I wouldn't even call it a mastermind. It's like a think tank. You know, you're thinking about ideas that you could implement in your own business, and you hear it from somebody that's, you know, doing it right now, like on a weekly or biweekly call, and it dawns on you that maybe you should try trying some of these things that these great agents are doing. So I've been fortunate to be a part of this mastermind with some of the best agents in our Arizona market. And I continue, I always tell those mastermind folks, I said, I really appreciate this. I don't think my career would be anywhere near where it is without this mastermind. And I'm very thankful for that group of people. But we're lucky to be a part of a company that has these types of agents that are attracted to our brand, Berkshire Hathaway. And so I'm just very fortunate, is what I would say, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you brought up the brand, you also, one of your claims to fame for sure is, and I see you all the time at the annual shareholder meeting at Berkshire Hathaway, right? So you've not only that, you've invested in, as I have. I started buying B stock the minute I started here too, because it's I started buying them. They were like $125. You know, today they're right at 500. They've been as high as 520. You know, so it's been a great investment as far as that goes too. But tell us a little about the shareholder meeting. That's got to be quite an experience listening to. Well, at one time it was both of them. Now it's just Warren.
Yes. I've been going to that meeting for a long while, probably since 2009. I remember going to. Listen, I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. You would hear people talk about Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. And at the time, I got to be honest with you, I thought to myself, what do you mean this is I thought an insurance guy driving around in his Cadillac around town, and everyone should see him and say, oh my gosh, there's Warren Buffett. I didn't realize how big Warren Buffett was and Berkshire Hathaway was until I left Omaha, Nebraska. I was in Los Angeles, California, and you'd taken job interviews to get a job somewhere at a studio, and they say, well, you must know that rich guy. The rich guy from Omaha. I always said, which one? Because there's a lot of folks that are going to have some money in every city. But they were talking about Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett was like, wow, this is a guy that everyone's talking about. I said, well, yeah, I'm from there. I actually worked for his furniture store in high school. I worked at the consumer electronics department selling car stereos and consumer electronics and little portable CD players before the iPod was made. And I just said, you talk about this guy. Well, Warren Buffett was revered by many business people. And I later became a Warren Buffett follower after going to his meeting. So I went for 16 straight years to Warren Buffett's meeting in Omaha. I'd make that journey back to Omaha and to hear what he had to say, hear what Charlie Munger and Warren would have to say. They were both great. They were both great salesmen. They were both great showmen too on stage. And I had the privilege of asking questions to Charlie Munger at one point and to Warren Buffett in 2020. I believe, is when we asked the question about the real estate commissions. But the meeting has when people ask, why are you with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, it's because of that meeting, and it's because of Warren Buffett's profound influence on my business and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't think I would be as ramped up about selling real estate if I was not with this brand, Berkshire Hathaway. So that's the truth. But,
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
he's kind of stepped away a little bit, but he's still around making decisions. And I do believe Greg Abel is an outstanding leader for the company.
Yes. I told Troy, I said, listen, I don't care what Greg's middle name is. If I was him, I would change my middle name to Very. Greg Very Able.
Very able. I would have to agree with that. He's sharp. And when I asked the question, when he was up there on stage, one of the first times he was up there answering questions about real estate, he came back with the full story about real estate commissions. You know, I'm sure that he's got to have so many different responsibilities running all the companies that they run, 62 or so. And, you know, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is just one little part of it. But I feel like we're fortunate to be a part of such an incredible brand.
I do too. I feel the same way, and I always have. And it's much like your story. You know, I've been in real estate for 41 years, and I met Mark Stark years ago, and then we had met a few times, and then when when Warren Buffett bought Prudential and turned it into Berkshire,
yeah,
and then I said to myself, okay, this is the time for me to make the move. You know, and I've been here for almost 13 years now, and it's been great. It's been wonderful. And, I enjoy every minute of it. And, that's why I love seeing your videos from the shareholders meetings. I'm going to go one of these days, but I do think Greg is very able. And I do think Chris Kelly is doing incredibly well. I think Troy's doing a great job. You know, we got Aldo over here now in corporate. And so I think we're doing some really good stuff. We got some really dynamite agents like yourself. And, kind of like now that everything is bought up by Compass, so I think it's like Berkshire Hathaway, to me, is
right.
the best brand to the consumer. Maybe not to all real estate agents, but definitely to the consumer. And I can tell you many examples, I'm sure you have them too, wearing my pin, people saying, hey, wow, you're at Berkshire Hathaway, you must be good. That's what they think immediately because the brand is so, I call him Uncle Warren. I've never met him, but I still call him Uncle Warren, because
Uncle Warren.
Yeah.
He is kind of like Uncle Warren. I mean, it's something. There's something about wearing a pin for Berkshire Hathaway proud because I wear my sports coat around and I'll put my Berkshire Hathaway pin and somebody will comment, "What's the pin? What is that? Some type of cult group you have?" No, I say it says Berkshire Hathaway Home Services where I work at the real estate firm. They always say, "Wow, that's Warren Buffett's company." Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. And I think that Greg Abel will soon be part of that, conversation as we get moving forward.
I agree.
But
it was so,
I do appreciate it, though.
Ever since I've been, I call myself an audiobook junkie. As you know, I have audiobooks and books going.
Oh, yeah.
I've listened to everything I could find about Warren and Charlie. And it was so interesting because Charlie, very conservative politically, but a little bit more liberal in his spending, where Warren, very liberal in his politics, but very conservative in his spending. And if anybody on this call today hasn't seen, Becoming Warren Buffett, it's on YouTube, a special. The man goes to McDonald's every day. And I love his line of, hey, if the market's up, I get the sausage in my Egg McMuffin. If the market's down, I don't get the sausage. He's a billionaire. I just think and his wife counts out the money for him and hands it to him.
Well,
as he drives off to work and goes to the same McDonald's drive-thru, has been living in the same house since the 50s. And people don't realize he wasn't a billionaire until after 50. It's not like he took,
right.
Like you said about your business, Sean, right? Took a while to get in gear. It takes patience. It takes time. It takes dedication. Well, same with your investing, right? It takes time.
It takes time. It does take time. And that's the truth. And I do feel like that, it's helpful to have a story like that in such an iconic figure that has that similar story. I mean, they've always been successful, but it took time to get to billionaire status. I'm sure, I don't know the exact time frame, but it didn't happen overnight. And it did take the trust of a lot of the people that came in and invested early on the early investors from Omaha that started that, and they were patient and they stuck around. They probably still shareholders that have their shares still in Berkshire Hathaway. But you start to look at the Fortune 500 list of the most wealthy people in the world. I think a lot of people are left off the list because they're not calculating what kind of shareholders are still out there that have shares in their portfolio that just have never been cashed out. I always wonder about that with that particular stock in particular with Berkshire Hathaway. But that's just a story that's an Omaha story that I'm just proud to be a part of that. That history and the legacy
lineage
of the brand, the lineage.
That's awesome.
That's the word I'm looking for. The lineage. And I didn't really think about it until we're on this call, but there's something about the lineage that calculates for me.
Well, I really appreciate the fact that you're, that proud to be. I'm the same way when it comes to Berkshire Hathaway, and I think it shows. But okay, so let's get into this for real quick because I got to ask you this question before we go, which is, all right, if I'm an agent trying to take it to the next level or come out of the gate hot, tell them your 3 most important points you'd focus on.
Oh my God. I would say, you have to act like a real estate agent. There's times where it gets a little bit sleepy or you don't think something's happening or, things aren't going under contract and, no one's contacting you. And I think there's a great manager out of the Beverly Hills Berkshire office that said, you got to go act like a real estate. Like I'm saying, like SAG-AFTRA style acting, like a professional actor. You got to get out there. You got to start going to like broker opens or start going to the open houses on the weekend. If you're not, actually, if you don't have a listing, go find an open house to go sit, or post a video. You got to just start acting, and then you start acting enough that you might start to actually get good at real estate if you're persistent with it.
I love it.
It's like practice, practice, practice. That's the best way to get to the Carnegie Hall. So I feel like there's some truth to that. Acting to get to where it's not faking it, but you're actually getting out, meeting people, seeing what's going on in a given market. You got to get up and just go and start acting like a real estate agent. And it was Nick Karkonikis, our branch manager out of Beverly Hills, that said that one time, probably close to 12 or 13 years ago. And that stuck with me, and it's the truth. And I never thought of it that way.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Act like a realtor.
Act like a realtor. And then the second thing would be back with something that I would say that I also never really thought about was invest in yourself. And investing in yourself is, something that Warren Buffett always would say, at these meetings. You gotta, what's the best investment you can make, and it's in yourself. You got to invest in yourself somehow. Whether it be taking courses or talking to people or joining a mastermind or a think tank group. Getting on a call with Rick Berube here every once in a while. Going to your office and, talking with other agents and seeing what's going on. That's investing in your career in real estate by showing up and, being a part of a culture somewhere. And, we're lucky. It changes. This is not like something that's going to stagnant in our line of work and probably any line of work. There's always been changes in what that is exactly. But I have found that it's been extremely helpful to show up to broker opens, to luxury home tours, what we have in Scottsdale, in Paradise Valley rather. Well, it's Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, but where we go on a home tour with every other Friday. So you're meeting up with 300, 400 agents sometimes on a given Friday to look at homes in the area, talking about what's going on. And I think that's been the investment that I've made is, invest in yourself with the real estate market that you're in.
I love that one. That one, you have my vote on that one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I think that would be, there's probably other ways to say it, like kind of like, just, I don't know what else I could invest in. You could invest, when you make your money, I guess you invest in stocks and maybe find a way to put some money away. It's for something later, but, just investing in yourself, it does make a difference. And then the final thing, I don't know what, I've always thought about this, when you're in a line of work, I remember working at Warner Brothers and somebody said like, what's this? It's a very different line of work when you're working at a studio than it is in real estate. There's some overlap in some ways. If you're in marketing, like I was in marketing at Warner Brothers, but I always think about like the Kenny Rogers factor. You're going to think I'm crazy, but you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. And then,
Yeah.
you can always count your money when the dealing's done is what it ends up being for me. It's like, you know what, you can think about every little paycheck you make or big paycheck you make over a given year, and, you know, you wish you had more. Oh, I wish I had more sales so I could have, you know, a bigger paycheck at the end of the year. And I've been fortunate. Like I said, the past 3 years have been some of the biggest years ever. But, you know, there's always a time for counting when the dealing's done, is what I would say. The dealing's never done. I mean, there's another $29 million house my brother and I are going to look at down here by the Montage Resort in Laguna Beach this week. It came on the market just this past weekend with the Covington Group down here, which is with Berkshire Hathaway in Laguna. But, you know, there's who's to say we can't find a buyer for that? Or who's to say that you're not going to get a listing this week that's $35 million in Paradise Valley? It can happen if you're just in the vortex, in the arena, just even thinking about selling a home like that. So I guess that's the best part of the real estate business, is that you never know what's going to happen. It's just any given day, something that can happen you just wouldn't expect. And it's largely related by just showing up and being present.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love Laguna, where you are. That's like a real beautiful place. Are they still doing pageants? They're still doing the pageant of the Masters down here, right?
They do the pageant of the Masters down here, and then the Sawdust Festival, which is down here in downtown Laguna. And then, you know, it's a busy time of year. People, you know, I've been coming down to Laguna Beach for a long time with my family. And my sister, with her kids now live in Laguna. They're actually my nephews who I'm watching here today. I'm here in Laguna Beach looking out at the Pacific, but they're going to be turning 12 years old. They're identical twins, and they are awesome.
Wow.
And I don't see them as much as I'd like to, but I start to think about, you know, what growing up and, you know, what you're going to do with your life. I mean, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I didn't say I was going to be a real estate agent when I was 12 years old. I said, you know, I'm going to do, who knows what I thought I was going to be, a magician probably. But, you know, I really think there's something about, you know, being in this business of real estate that is very cool, because you're out and about, you see other people, they talk about real estate. You've got other agents that are in the business that you bump into throughout town. I mean, I'll bump into several agents that I know down here in Laguna Beach just by being out and about and, you know, being in the area. So it's a cool business in regards to that, because you always know somebody. There's always somebody you know through the real estate business, which is what I never thought that was going to be what the reality is, but it's true. You meet a lot of friends through this line of work, and I'm fortunate with that too. It's a rewarding business because you're out and you're talking to a lot of different people. So I don't know if I would have the amount of joy in my life without the real estate business.
I love it, my man. Perfect way to end. We're right at time too. So I just want to say, Sean Cawley, thank you very much. Everybody on the call today, send your referrals to both California and Arizona. Mr. Sean
I'll
Cawley.
end it with
Thanks,
this,
Sean.
if you don't mind. My tagline,
right.
from the Arizona desert to the California coast, I've always got you covered with your real estate needs.
Love it.
Rick Berube, I thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for your time out, and enjoy your time in Laguna, my man. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. All right, bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, everybody.